Wow. 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 Wow.
Wow.
That was the best Summer League game I think I've ever seen in my entire life. So we'll just start things like that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Court Press. You see, we have Ariel in the top right. We have myself, Gadiel, in the bottom. And we have our boy, TJ, Twan Speaks, at Twan Speaks on Twitter. And we have Marco joining us live from the arena at some point. Things going kind of crazy in the arena right now. But, I mean, Twan, we just saw your reaction, and you're the guest of the show today. What are your thoughts on today's Summer League game and our boy Max Strus?
First of all, the game was ridiculous. I was down bad early. I thought it was over. I was about to turn it off and let you know, I wasn't going to come on the show. There was nothing to talk about. But I mean, when Max Strus gets cooking like that, real Duncan Robinson vibes. And then you get DeJon Jarreau going to the rack whenever he wants to. I mean, man, that was so much fun, man. So much fun.
It was incredible. I'm really smiling right now because I tweeted about it. This is some of the most fun that I've had watching a Heat game, and it was the Summer League team with a bunch of undrafted free agents and dudes that no one really is supposed to care about. But these dudes are dogs. They just came out and they fought. I want to shout out one comment before we get to Ariel here. Our guy, the OG, Greg Sylvander, he said, Leif had Strus first, LOL. That is absolutely true. I hope you pull up the receipts from you saying that they should look into Strus 3 years ago, because Leif literally, he was the probably first and only person who talked about Matt Strus. But Ariel, your thoughts on this game and our boy Max Strus?
Man, what a game. I was with Twan here. I'm watching the first half. I'm like, damn, we got to do a Summer League post-game show after the Heat get blown out by 20. It's going to feel like last season again. I'm not in the mood, but man, that team played hard as heck. I think from a talent perspective, they were probably outclassed a little bit, but it just kind of didn't matter. Omer Yurtseven continues to just show flashes. Dude has some stuff that is legitimately translatable to NBA games, and if he can do some of the things, not all of the things, but some of the things that we've seen him do, the ability to recover and get back into position, block shots, big length, can rebound, touch, around the rim, touch from the mid-range, you can shoot the three. There's some real translatable stuff there. So I'm excited about him. Max Strus looks like, again, he's playing against summer leaguers, so I don't know just how much I want to go crazy about this, but he's shown some legit, there's some improvement there.
No, absolutely. But let's talk about that, because Memphis is actually I was excited for this game for the reason that Memphis, they might not have the best summer league team. They don't have the top tier talent, but they have a bunch of NBA quality guys on this team. Desmond Bane should have been the best player on the floor. Xavier Tillman should have been the best player on the floor. You could probably say the same for Killian Tilly and a few of these other guys on their team. They have a good squad. Max Strus was far and away the best player on the floor. Far and away. And as a Heat fan, someone who's looking for the Heat to get a rotational player out of the Summer League, we definitely have one in Max Strus. I feel so much better about the bench seeing the way that he's been able to develop his game. It's not like it's just catch and shoot. It's off the dribble. It's off the drive. It's playing defensively, understanding the coverages that he's playing. He looks like a completely different player. And one thing I want to note, year two off of an ACL injury is typically when players get their explosiveness and kind of athleticism back. No one talked about this last year. I think that might have been why Max Strus might have been a little, we'll say, out of shape to start. He was coming off of an ACL injury. So just him being able to do this is fantastic. And now it looks like he's taking a step forward. He's going to be a rotational player for the Heat, and I think we should have the utmost confidence in doing so. So we'll touch on some more players here. We got a donation. Thank you, GSH Everything _27. KZ doesn't belong, guys. 3 years and pretty much no instinct for basketball. So kind of want to keep it really positive until the end, but we'll get over to KZ here. Twan, how do you feel about KZ, his performance tonight?
Like, okay, KZ hasn't played a lot of basketball, right? So that's a thing that really happened. So you have to take that into consideration. But also, like, if you look at what KZ was in college, KZ got downhill, got to the rack pretty much whenever he wanted to, and was able to get easy buckets for himself. You look at KZ now, and he's not that dude. He's taking a lot of threes, which maybe he thinks that's how he gets in the rotation. Maybe that's somebody telling him like that'll be the best way for him to play consistently is if he can stretch the floor. But even in summer league against summer league guys, he's not getting downhill, and then when he is, he doesn't really have a plan. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. And then defensively, like what he is, but like if that's all he brings, there's a bunch of guys who can play defense on this team. So he has to separate himself somehow. And you expect like with it being his third year, he should be looking like what Max Strus and Xavier Tillman and Desmond Bane would. That's what he should look like. But like I said, but those guys haven't played a whole lot of basketball either. So who knows, man? There's really no excuse for what KZ is doing. But I really don't know. I really don't know. There's really no explanation. He's just not the same guy anymore.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you. Like, it has been a tough time trying to figure out where he fits on this team. But the biggest problem is right now he has guaranteed money on his contract and he has a guaranteed roster spot. So Ariel, at this point, are you looking to try to trade KZ for basically like a non-existent second-round pick, kind of like what the Cavs got for Kevin Porter Jr., where you just give him to a team for like a top 57 protected second-round pick? Or is he someone that you're willing to see if there can be strides made? Because he hasn't played a lot of basketball, but it looks like he's not going to play a lot of basketball if he's going to be taking up a roster spot on this team, because they can't send him to Sioux Falls. They need that wing depth, but they can't play him because he's not at the stage where he can be played in the NBA. So where are you with this situation?
So I've been off the KZ train for a while. You know that. The tools are there. Like if you could put like Jimmy Butler's brain into KZ Okpala's body, he might be the best player in the NBA. Like the tools are there. Gifted. For sure. And like the handle and all that, like you could see that if he he just kind of doesn't know what he's doing out there, like ever, he'll have spurts where like he can stay in front of somebody and you go, oh man, like, he's really good at the point of attack. Like that's something that he can, that can be translatable. That's something that can carry forward and he can build on. But like, then he'll commit a stupid foul. He'll get beat for no reason when he just doesn't move his feet the way he should. Like it just hasn't clicked for him yet. And I don't know how much longer we can keep making the excuse that, well, there was the condensed season and like he didn't really get time in summer league. He didn't get a G League season, all that. So if I'm the Heat, I mentioned this recently, like I think I would just punt on that draft night trade. I know you gave up 3 second-round picks, moved up to 32. Yeah. Listen, you're not going to win every transaction. If you can get a second-rounder out of him, I'm making that move. I'm bringing in a vet wing. I don't know how many players the Heat want to carry. I guess, there's some tax implications that factor into play there. But if I'm the Heat, I probably move him. I look to bring in a vet wing on a minimum deal. The Heat have some of the mid-level exception left. They have the biannual exception left. Like you can still get something that you can count on for even like 10 or 12 minutes a night, because you're not getting that from KZ this season, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm right there with you. It's going to be really tough. Oh, we got Mr. Worldwide back from sabbatical in Europe, and God knows where he's been. But Marco, straight outside of Vegas, what was the atmosphere like after Max Strus hits that shot? Of all game winners, probably the most improbable one. How are we feeling?
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
All right, I'm using Michael's headphones. Our own Michael from our 5 Hour Sense here. But yeah, the game was pretty wild. Max just came up and shot that 3. I was like, is he just going to shoot this? And I was like, the guy has balls, so why not? I actually thought that Yurt stole the tip-off for the sudden death, and nobody pointed it out. I was like,
it's culture.
Okay, whatever. It's summer league. Who cares?
Yeah. No, that's the most electric I've ever felt watching a summer league game. It truly was fantastic. And like to have that confidence, someone in the comments Sorry, I can't see who it was right now, but someone said it reminded them of the Dion Waiters game winner from a few years ago. Same exact thing. Like the little left hand drop, bring it back to the right, go up confident, and just money. But let's get to some more comments here. One from Poetic Lifestyle. Thank you for the donation. We can't baby KZ any longer. We got Garrett out there playing badass out there, and number 53, don't know how to spell his name. That's Dejan or Deke Giroux. Yeah, he in the second half was, dominant in pick and roll. Like him and Yurtseven really, really got going. He knows how to break down the defense, and that's something I want to touch on. Let's get to another one here from Ash Turkop. KZ just needs to be in the G League for a bit to find his game because he is playing like a 3-and-D player when he's a get-to-the-rim player. He can figure those things out. I don't think they're going to happen in Miami. Like at this point, I'm ready to just take the roster spot because we have Depot on the roster. You have Haslam on the roster. That's 2 roster spots that are dead weight. Omer's your third center. Your third center never really plays unless there's injury, unless you want to run 2 bigs, which Eric Spoelstra will not be doing. So you need that wing depth. And Max Strus makes me feel a little bit better about it, but you can't wait on a guy. Like if you throw Wesley Matthews in instead of KZ Okpala on this team, you look much, much, much stronger. But let's get to some of these undrafted guys because we've been waiting on Deke Giroux to play. He has been someone that was really, really hyped up by the fans. We've seen what we got from Marcus Garrett. We'll touch on that. Ariel, we'll start with you. What did you see from Deke, and has he cemented that 2-way spot in your brain?
I think so. I think it has to go to Deke and to Marcus Garrett. I think they both have skills that you could see playing out against NBA competition a little bit. I think they both need to add a little bit of weight, get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. But I think, you can do that with time. But as far as Deke goes, like Twan mentioned, like you mentioned, he had some really positive reps out of pick and roll. He knows how to use a screen and get downhill. I would like to, again, this is why I caution against getting too excited over summer league stuff, just because like in an NBA game, I think one of the commentators mentioned this actually, in an NBA game, there's going to be an adjustment made. They're going to, defend the screen a little bit differently, and he's not going to be able to get downhill every single time. So he's going to have to develop counters to his game. But if he can, until NBA defenses throw that counter at him, if he can really do stuff out of pick and roll, if he can create just a little bit, there's some flashes there. Like you see some stuff there that you go, okay, like he can handle a little bit. He can do some stuff out of pick and roll. If he can perfect that jump shot and get a little bit better with that, it opens up a whole lot for him. So I like him. He plays hard. He gets downhill. I think the 2-way spot, one of the 2-way spots definitely goes to him.
Yeah, definitely. Twan, between Marcus Garrett and Deke, which one impressed you more today?
Well, today it would have to be Deke, simply because of how impactful he was late. It was ridiculous. It was pretty much every time down the court, pick and roll, get downhill, make a read, or get fouled. Like that was the offense. So I definitely think it was Deke that was more impactful today. But Marcus Garrett and Deke, for that matter, they defended their tails off, man. On ball, off ball, in the passing lanes, like slipping from behind guys, getting through screen. It was ridiculous, man. Watching them 2 work is amazing. But if they can be the 2-way guys, hey, sign me up for that. I'm very cool with that.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what the limit of games is that they can play being 2-way guys, but I think there's a legitimate fit for both of those guys to play off the bench alongside Tyler Hero. I think that's like when I look at players that I want to have on the 2-way, I think those are the types of player I want. Deke probably fits better because he breaks down to the defense a little bit more and more athletic, getting downhill. But Marcus Garrett's like the ultimate glue guy, and I think he's already kind of like an NBA level, like pretty good defender at the NBA level. Like I think he can come in day one and be a like positive defender defensively. But Marco, I do want to ask you this because you were in the arena, and I think in one of our group chats you were talking about how Desmond Bane looked frustrated. So touch on kind of the way that the point of attack defense was getting to Desmond Bane, and like because he was barking supposedly at some coaches and whatnot. What did you see the Heat be able to do to stop Desmond Bane today? Because he had like 30 the other night.
It felt like they were making a conscious decision to like stop Desmond Bane. It was because he's like their creator out there. And Marcus Garrett, he was all over him. Karam Butler was talking trash to Desmond Bane from the bench. It was hilarious. He got into his head. Karan's the loudest guy I've ever seen on a bench, like for a coach. And it's one of my favorite things to watch during Heat games so far at Summer League. And it was interesting to me that Bane even played really, because I think Bane's too good for summer league. But it's a great challenge for Marcus Garrett, because these are the kind of guys that Miami's gonna want to put him on. Like last year, they were having a tough time to guard Desmond Bane, and young athletic guys. So I wouldn't mind them keeping this up. Keep challenging the guys like that. Garrett did a good job of getting over the screens. Like fighting over screens is one of my pet peeves of guys that we had in the past. Kendrick Nunn. So it was great to see Marcus get over those kind of stuff. And he and Yurtseven actually did a good job of playing drop coverage on Bane whenever Yurt was in a pick and roll. Yurt's not a good guy to put well above the level of the screen. So he's going to have to play a lot of drop coverage. So I really liked what they did there. And especially on that last play, shout out to Yurt for trapping on that pick and roll, because the shot clock was winding down and Desmond had to throw up some junk, and they got the alley-oop.
Yeah. I mean, just everything that happened it was so beautiful. But I love that you touched on the drop coverage, because I was probably the one person, or Marco, actually you watched some of them, but those games in Turkey where he was playing in the qualifier tournaments, and that drop coverage, like the defense from Omer just wasn't there. He was lost in multiple different kinds of coverages. There were times he would try to switch, drop, it just wasn't working. But we saw some improvement today. So who should we go with here? Marco, we'll go back to you. So in terms of the drop, do you think that is the only coverage that Omer is going to be able to run in the NBA? Do you think he can become someone that plays more at the level? Or where does he fit defensively in terms of the way that the Heat play?
Marco. You hear us, Marco?
Okay. I think we lost him. You're on mute. Let's see if this works. No.
This is
all right.
It's summer league for us too. Yes,
sir. How do you feel about Omer's schematic fit on the Heat defensively?
So I think if you would have asked me last year, I would have said you have to drop exclusively with Yurt. The Heat don't have enough good defenders on the floor where they can cover up for if he gets isolated or if somebody gets by him, which is going to happen a lot if he gets isolated, right? But I think this year, the makeup of the roster, I mean, on paper, the Heat have, in my opinion, like a top 3 defense in the NBA. I might make the argument they have on paper the best defense in the NBA. So I feel a little bit more comfortable bringing him up to the level. I don't know if you definitely don't want to switch with Yurtseven, at least not initially. But I will say that, traditionally a guy like Brook Lopez has always been a drop guy. And this year, the Bucks were bringing him up to the level a little bit more. It helps when you've got really good help defenders and guys who can rotate and, make those extra effort type defensive plays where you can cover up for a guy's shortcomings if he does get himself stuck in a bad situation. So I don't know if you have to, drop exclusively with Yurtseven. It kind of depends on if he's playing with Bam, and then you've got guys like, PJ, Jimmy, Depot, whoever else is on the court. Like it helps, it helps the defensive shortcomings a little bit. So I think mostly he'll be a drop guy, but there's ways around this, in my opinion.
TJ, I think Adam got you. So supposedly you're trying to hide your hairline. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Yurtseven's fit offensively, because I mean, the touch that he has on offense is honestly just unbelievable. Especially for summer league. Like, he struggled early on with Xavier Tillman's physicality, and then he just figured out how to get to his spots. And that's something I wanted to see. Just how could he adjust to someone being stronger than him? Because Xavier Tillman is he's built like a truck. Like,
absolutely.
He's crazy. But talk about Omer's offense and where he fits on the Heat.
So first of all, I'm probably going to be slandered for my crimes on Twitter. I said Omer lost his powers once he signed his deal, but I was clearly wrong. The man ended up with like 25. so sorry about that, Big Yurt. But I think he fits pretty comfortably, like going up against second units. I think he can find areas where he can succeed. I think a lot early he'll probably be in the Myers Leonard role, picking and popping a lot. I don't think he'll get many paint touches, simply because of like the creators that you have there. You want to get those guys going downhill. You want to give Tyler some room. So I think he'll be mainly a pick and pop guy early until they can really feel comfortable, like with him getting down low and, getting his touch going closer to the rim. I think he can also roll a little bit, so you can get him touches there. But I think he fits pretty comfortably, especially if like Dwayne Dedmon's out or anything like that. I don't want him going up against starting bigs. Like I don't want him to see him against like Embiid or anything like that. He'll get toasted. But but if you go against second units, I think he can be fine. Yeah.
I think what he gives you, and you touched on it a little bit, that pick and pop element is something that like the Heat have historically been really, really good at, but they don't have those kinds of guys. Kelly Olynyk would give you some of that, and he could also do a little bit more playmaking, obviously, than Yurtseven could, because Kelly's a skilled big. Ariel, I see you smiling a little bit on inside there. But what I'm intrigued to see is actually how he fits with Bam. I don't think Yurtseven's going to start for probably like a year or two, if he ever got to the point where he was going to start in the NBA. But I think there can be spot minutes where you can maybe give Yurtseven, oh my goodness, like 10 or so minutes playing with Bam and see how that fits. Because then Bam is going to have the ability to drive. He's going to have the ability to, like, you can run an inverted pick and roll where you have, or not inverted, but you have Bam as the ball handler and you have Yurt as the kind of like the screen guy. So there's a bunch of different wrinkles that Yurtseven can give you, and that's really, really exciting because that's a skill set that we had not had. We got a donation here from Kelvin Farrar, the Instan Bully.
Okay, not bad. Thanks for the money, though.
Wait, I'm confused there. What is? Oh, like
It's
instant. Oh, that took me. That's good. That's solid. I get it. I get it.
That all right.
So.
Yeah, I did want to add on to your him and Bam thing. Anytime we can get Bam going downhill, please get him going downhill with the ball in his hands. It's going to be massacre for the other team. But I think he can fit in pretty well, like especially defensively. You got Bam out on the perimeter switching on guys, like that's excellent for anybody. And then you have Yurt, who looked like prime Hakeem Olajuwon, the way he was sending shots left and right down low. So if he can sit in the paint and let Bam, harass guys on the perimeter, like I'm cool with that. So
yeah, it looks like Malik Allen and Caron Butler and the summer league staff have done a great job of just getting Yurt to understand his role defensively and just like, listen, you're big, be big, just stay by the rim, grab rebounds, and if you can block the shot, block the shot. The fouling thing, I think there's times where he panics, kind of similar to Duncan when he first started and he started fouling a little bit, but that's fine. We're gonna make this one pretty quick today, so we're going to come to a close with this question. Not a summer league topic, but Ariel, you actually posted a tweet today talking about Bleacher Report and how they have the Miami Heat ranked 4th. Is that correct?
Yep, 4th in the post free agency power rankings.
4th in the power rankings going into next year. So Ariel, we'll start with you. Do you think 4th is where this team should be? Is that too high, too low? Like in the entire NBA, where are you putting this team going into the season?
So when I first saw it, my reaction was, okay, that's probably a little too high, but I like it. I'm with it. The more I've thought about it, though, I think it's kind of maybe a little appropriate. It might be a little bit strong, but hear me out here. I think the only teams that I have definitively against ahead of the Heat right now on paper are the Bucks, the Nets, and I think the Lakers, and then I think the Heat are in the next grouping with Phoenix, Denver. I don't know if I want to put Philly up there. I don't know if I want to put Atlanta up there. Am I missing somebody? Like, to me, they're in that next group, so they're somewhere in the top 6 or 7 range in the NBA. So maybe 4 is, putting them 4th is saying they're the best team out of that next grouping. But I think that they have the potential to really surprise some people. I don't think that they're going to be like 2nd in the East. I think that's a little high. I could see them finishing 3rd, more likely even 4th. I don't think the team is necessarily built to dominate in the regular season. They've got, a little bit of an older team. Guys might miss some games. There might be some load management. There might be some injuries, stuff like that, just nights where they don't really get up for it. We've seen that a lot with the Heat in recent seasons. But I think they've got a roster that's built for the playoffs, man. And I really, really think they can make a conference finals. They can make a finals run if things really break their way. So to me, 4 is maybe a little bit strong, but I don't think it's that strong. I think they're in that next grouping after the Lakers, Bucks, and Nets.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Twan, how are you viewing the situation?
I feel similar to Ariel. I think if they had the same path that the Bucks had this year, I think they make it to the finals with this team. I think they're that good. Now I don't know. I don't know if they're better than the Clippers or the Lakers. Those teams give me a little scare, but I think they can definitely be top 7. Just overall in the league. There's somewhere around there. I think they're much better than Philly. I think they're much better than Atlanta. Obviously, it still has to be proven because those teams were better than them last year. But I think they're better just on paper than those teams. So there's somewhere around that top 7 range, somewhere around there.
Real quick, I want to throw one thing in there. When we're like, yes, Twan, you're right. On paper, the Clippers should very much be in that top 4 or 5 grouping. But I don't know what the Kawhi situation is. I don't know when he's going to play, so I'm not even putting them up there. That's why. But yeah, like I have them top 6. If you have them top 7, that's basically the inclusion of the Clippers making the difference there. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like the Clippers, if Kawhi's healthy, you could have made an argument they would have won the title this year. They would be right there last year. Hey, listen, I told everybody that the Clippers are going to be really good. They ended up being really good, even without Kawhi. So call me crazy, whatever. But I do agree with you guys. I think 4 is a little rich. I think I'd probably put like Phoenix and Denver over them just because I kind of know what their formula is and whatever. Jamal Murray's injury is going to be interesting, but I'm expecting him to come back basically 100%. And the Heat, they have the playoff formula, though. Like, they really, really do. The ceiling of this team, though, it lies in the internal improvement from Bam and Tyler. And I think what they've done is they've cleared the runway for those guys to really take off this year. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, we know what Kyle Lowry brings to the table. He's an incredible player. He's a floor general. He's going to make others better. But you're going to need guys to play better than you expected going into the season. And I guess the 2 names that really pop out are Bam and Tyler. Is there anybody else on this team that you think can really, save for Oladipo if he's healthy, that you think can really overperform on either what they're getting paid or what their role should be on this team?
I guess maybe Max Strus based on what we've seen in Summer League. But I mean, again, I don't want to overreact to Summer League. Yeah. Like I need to see him do it in NBA games. But I will say, though, that the Heat are going to be one of the more active teams on the buyout market. If anybody gets bought out, I mean, they've still got like $2.5 million of the mid-level exception left. They've still got the biannual exception if they want to use it. So I would caution against have Deke. I hate Tyler again. Let's go, Royal. I would caution against saying that like the answer might not necessarily be on the roster right now. Buyout candidates generally, like historically speaking, aren't the biggest difference makers on championship contending rosters, but you never know. I mean, like somebody like
Edmond made a difference for us last year. So
sure, a guy like John Wall could get bought out. Like you never know who might get bought out. Some of these things just shake loose out of nowhere, and the Heat have put themselves in position to be buyers there. So
yeah,
I agree with that. As far as somebody on the roster that hasn't really been talked about, obviously we know what he is. Like we know what Duncan is, but he's going to get so many easy looks compared to last year, where defenses were able to hone in on him and like the offense just went nowhere. So now with the additions of like Kyle Lowry and then PJ giving space and Markieff Morris giving them space, like Duncan's going to get so many easy looks just because the attention is going to be on other people. So he's going to really look like a 3rd or 4th option on this team, which is amazing compared to last year where he was pretty much the first option.
Yeah, no, Duncan taking a step forward would be huge. It just really all he needs to do, Brady has alluded to it multiple times. Like if he's able to just see someone closing out, shot fake, one dribble, pull up, sidestep, pull up, like that will just make his game so much more lethal because you have to run out on him like crazy. I mean, he's one of the best shooters in the entire planet. So Duncan would be fantastic. I've talked about this before, but I really hope Markieff Morris has some sort of resurgence in Miami because objectively he's been an awful offensive player over the last few years. There hasn't been much there, but I think when he was with the Pistons, he had a pretty solid season. So I would like to see Markieff. I mean, given the way that the bench is forming, he's going to have opportunity to do so. So that would be another player that I think could overperform, kind of be like our version of Bobby Portis this year. So with that being said, pretty short episode today. We're going to be back soon, probably very, very soon. If not here, we'll be back on Twitter Spaces for the next Summer League game because now we have to talk about Max Strus. I don't make the rules. I just host the Spaces. That's all it is. But any last words before we depart for the people?
When's the next game? Is that Friday?
I believe it is Friday against I don't know who against.
Okay. Well, the Heat are winning.
Absolutely. The Strus is loose, and I'm sorry, Big Yer, for my sins.
Hey, as long as you apologize, it's all good. I'm just excited Marcus Garrett hit another 3 today. That's great for my agenda. And listen, we got 4 guys that look like NBA guys. Sadly, one of the guys that doesn't is on our roster, so that's not fun. But with all that being said, shout out you guys in the comments. Real quick show today. We will be back. Max Strus, play the video, Manny.